Israeli forces have shot dead 2 Palestinian women, including one who was pregnant in the occupied West Bank. The army has stepped up its assault in several areas, including the Nur Shams refugee camp. It's part of a larger Israeli operation that's raided other camps in Jenin, Tulkrem and Tubas. Imran Ullah Khan begins our coverage.
Under the direct orders of the Israeli military, these Palestinians in the Al-Far refugee camp are forced out of their homes and rounded up, not knowing where they will go next. Here, another group of Palestinian women and children try to find safety, while Israeli forces nearby threaten them and throw what appears to be a tear gas canister or stun grenade at them. Thousands of Palestinians across the occupied West Bank are being displaced as the Israeli military escalates its large-scale military assault on several refugee camps. This is just a glimpse of what is being captured on amateur video and cell phone footage coming out of the occupied West Bank. In one raid, a pregnant woman was killed. Her family says she had chosen the name Saif for her yet-to-be-born son. Israeli forces pushed into the Nur Shams and Al-Far refugee camps in the early hours of Sunday. For many, finding respite and safety is a constant struggle.
We fled from Jenin camp and we came to Al-Fara to my family's house. The Israelis entered Al-Fara and asked everyone to leave their homes. And here we are, displaced again and again.
The Spaitan families from the Tulkrem refugee camp, some of them have managed to find a place to stay with relatives for now. The rest have had to adjust to basic life in this tent in a neighboring village.
We don't get very cold at night. It's because the adults give us their blankets, so they're the ones that get cold instead.
But it's not just the cold. Many Palestinians fear they won't be able to find food, water, and other necessities.
The Israeli army forced us to leave in the middle of the night. We didn't know where to go, so our relatives offered this space. It's under construction and lacks everything, even insulation. It was very cold last night.
Many of these Palestinian refugees have been displaced time and time again. They say this time feels different. Having seen what happened in Gaza, they fear Israel now feels emboldened to do the same in the occupied West Bank.
Well, the Israeli position has been the same for the last several years since these raids have been going on across the occupied West Bank. They say they want to crack down on armed Palestinian fighters and get rid of the weapons that are in the Jenin refugee camp and the surrounding areas in the northern part of the occupied West Bank. But this time it's a little bit different because this is not just a regular raid. This is a large-scale military siege that's done in coordination with the Shin Bet, that's Israel's internal security agency, who's constantly sending in reinforcements. Let's talk about some of the numbers for a second. More than 30,000 Palestinians who've been forcibly displaced as part of this raid. At least 45 people who've been killed, including a pregnant woman who was pregnant in her 8th month. She was shot and killed. Her husband was critically wounded, and her father also seriously hurt after they were shot by Israeli forces. But not just that, you have hundreds of homes that have been destroyed, critical infrastructure, roads that have completely been decimated as part of this ongoing Israeli military raid. They say they want to protect civilians. They say they want to do all they can to keep them out of harm's way, which is why they've asked them to evacuate so that they're not in the midst of the fighting. But they are the ones getting hurt. They are the ones who are forcibly displaced. They are the ones who won't have any homes to go back to, and policies that the Israeli army is carrying out that mirror what it has done over the last 16 months in the Gaza Strip.
And of course, is there then any indication from the Israelis that they might withdraw, perhaps saying something like mission accomplished and we can pull out?
It doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon because the army has only talked about expanding its raid. And in recent weeks, that's exactly what we've seen. It went from Jenin to Tulkarem to Tubas. And they say that this is just the beginning. In fact, before the ceasefire in Gaza had taken place, the Israeli Army Chief of Staff said that the military was gearing up for large-scale raids and operations, not just what they're conducting nightly, but very, very large-scale ones, since the focus is no longer on Gaza and since there's more military manpower now that can be allocated to the occupied West Bank. But you have to remember some of Israel's political and land aspirations from the most right-wing government in Israel's history. You have members of Netanyahu's coalition who are talking about annexation of the occupied West Bank, which would completely destroy any sort of chance at a two-state solution and a state for the Palestinians. You have people in the government advocating for this, telling the Israeli premier during his visit with U.S. President Donald Trump to lobby for that. So there are a lot of moving parts here, and it's not just militarily, it's also politically, but the scenes on the ground and the situation just continues to grow in the devastation against the Palestinian people of the occupied West Bank.